Story 2. Vienna and England. We had a wonderful life in Vienna, so carefree. Every day we went to a pastry shop and ate Sachertorte mit Schlag und Kaffee oder Chocolate. We had servants, not that we were rich, middle class. Both parents worked. Our mother was the manager of a fancy department store, Krupnik's, till the Nazis took over. In the afternoon, the cook would prepare a small meal with thick pieces of fresh pumpernickel bread, spread with butter, or the most delicious cold cuts, slabs of meat, which we would enjoy immensely. We were kosher, so we didn't mix. We went to the opera in the most magnificent theaters in the world. We skied in Salzburg in the winter. We enjoyed our lives. We had a distant and respectful, polite relationship with our parents. That's how it was in those days. Nobody talked about unpleasant things. It wasn't done. Life was good. Respect was paramount. There were secrets. The way it should be. Seen but not heard. Everything was fine. Mella, my mother, was the oldest. Well-behaved and responsible. Greta was 5 years younger, willful and rebellious. Then they had a younger brother whom they nicknamed Booby, and they called him that his whole life. He died of emphysema some 70 years later in England. Mella had a beautiful singing voice. She wanted to go on stage and sing opera. Her parents wouldn't allow it. It was unheard of. Only tramps did that. So she became a seamstress. Greta was sexually abused by her teacher in school. She never told anyone until 60 years later, and then she told me. When they were babies, they were breastfed by a wet nurse, not by their mother. The nurse was afraid they'd get germs, so they were rarely touched. That's how it was. Everything was fine. When the Nazis came, the family made arrangements to be able to leave Vienna and go to England. We had to have jobs waiting for us and papers signed. Greta and Booby and I got work as maids and butlers. Our parents stayed behind. A year after we were in England, we discovered we could get our mother out of Vienna, but not our father. Jewish men weren't allowed to leave Austria anymore, and we knew that our mother would never leave our father, so we didn't even try. I live with that decision for the rest of my life. When Mella arrived at the station in the desolate, cold, damp English countryside, she had more luggage than the old woman she worked for. The lady lived alone in a huge mansion. Mella didn't know how to be a maid. She couldn't do anything right. The lady threatened to deport her back to Vienna. Eventually, Mella quit that job and moved to London. She got a flat with 4 other friends from Vienna, all refugees: Gigi, Paula, Marianne, and Mella's sister Greta. Booby wanted to assimilate into his new country, England. He stopped speaking German or Yiddish completely. He developed an English accent. He changed his name from Leo Schneider to Leslie Taylor. He wore a bowler hat and carried an umbrella. He married an English, non-Jewish woman. He appeared to be very British. Greta got pregnant and had a baby without getting married, and that was quite shocking in those days. Mella was so angry about it that she stopped speaking to her for several months. until the baby was born, my cousin Vivian. A few years later, Mela got pregnant and decided to marry the boyfriend who was a vagabond and an acrobat from Poland. That was my father. I was born in Paddington Hospital in London in October 1947. Mela and Greta and Bubi's parents were killed by the Nazis in 1942. Nobody knew that for a long time. Nothing made any sense. The world was upside down, but Mela and Greta and Bubi escaped and survived and started life over again in England.